I had always prided myself on being rational, the type who didn't believe in the paranormal or urban legends. That was until I boarded the midnight train. It was a rainy night, the kind where the streets are deserted and the sound of water splashing against pavement is the only company. I was late getting out of work and had missed my usual train home. Frustrated, I stood at the empty platform, watching as the clock ticked closer to midnight. Just as I was about to give up and call a cab, I heard it, a distant rumbling, growing louder. I turned to see a train pulling into the station. But this train wasn't listed on any of the schedules. The cars were old, their windows fogged and dark, yet the doors slid open with a mechanical hiss inviting me in. Against my better judgment, I stepped inside. The train was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your ears. The air was thick, almost suffocating, as I walked down the dimly lit aisle. The passengers were odd. They sat unnaturally still, faces hidden under wide-brimmed hats and coats pulled high. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were all watching me, even though I couldn't see their eyes. I took a seat near the middle of the car, hoping to blend in. The train jolted forward, and we were off, the cityscape outside quickly swallowed by darkness. As I settled in, I noticed something strange. The interior of the train seemed to stretch on forever, the end of the car fading into a shadowy abyss. I tried to distract myself, looking out the window, but there was nothing to see. No buildings, no lights, just an endless void. I glanced at the time on my phone, but it was dead, despite having been fully charged earlier. The uneasy feeling in my stomach grew. Something was wrong. I turned to the elderly woman sitting across from me. "Excuse me," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "Do you know when this train is supposed to arrive at the next station?" She slowly lifted her head, and I caught a glimpse of her eyes, glassy and unfocused, like she was staring right through me. Then she smiled, a cold, lifeless grin that made my skin crawl. "There are no stops on this train, dear," she whispered, her voice like the rustling of dead leaves. "This train doesn't go anywhere." A shiver ran down my spine. I shot up from my seat, my heart pounding in my chest. The other passengers were all staring at me now, their faces twisted into grotesque smiles. Panic surged through me as I stumbled down the aisle, trying to reach the door to the next car. I had to get out. I yanked the door open, but instead of finding another car, I was met with a mirror. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed and terrified. But there was something wrong. It wasn't my face. It was me, but older, worn, with deep, sunken eyes and a hollow expression. I blinked, and the reflection blinked back, but it didn't feel like it was copying me. It felt like it was mocking me. I backed away in horror, turning to run toward the opposite end of the car, but no matter how far I ran, the car seemed to stretch on endlessly. The passengers watched me, their heads turning in unison, their smiles growing wider. Then the train began to change. The walls started to close in, the lights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows that twisted and writhed like living things. The seats and the passengers melted into the darkness, leaving me alone in a narrowing corridor. The floor beneath me began to warp, the metal groaning as it twisted into unnatural shapes. I stumbled, falling to my knees as the corridor shrank around me. The air was thick, suffocating. I could barely breathe. And then, I saw it. At the very end of the corridor, a door. It was old and wooden, standing in stark contrast to the metal interior of the train. Carved into the wood was a symbol, a circle with an eye in the center, surrounded by jagged lines. It seemed to pulse with a dark energy, drawing me in. With no other option, I crawled toward the door. My hands trembled as I reached for the handle. I didn't want to open it, but something compelled me, something deep and primal. The door creaked open, and I was met with blinding light. I squinted, trying to make out what lay beyond. It was the station, the same platform I had boarded from, but different. The clock on the wall was broken, its hands spinning wildly. The rain had stopped, replaced by an unnatural stillness. I stepped out of the train, my legs shaky as I looked around. The platform was empty, except for a single figure standing in the distance. As I approached, the figure turned to face me. It was me. The same reflection I had seen in the mirror, older, broken, with those sunken eyes. My doppelganger smiled, a cold, lifeless grin. "You've arrived," she said in a voice that was both mine and not mine. "Welcome home." I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The world around me started to fade, the platform dissolving into shadows. I felt myself being pulled back into the train, back into the darkness. The last thing I saw was the train doors closing, the eerie passengers grinning at me from their seats. And then, nothing. The next morning, they found me on the platform, unconscious and alone. The train was gone, as if it had never existed. But I knew better. It was out there, waiting, searching for its next passenger. And now, every time I hear the distant rumble of a train at night, I wonder, will it come for me again? Or will it come for you?